In the past, I've talked about how to close a coaching session well, but recently I received a question about closing an engagement well. Let me share my thoughts about that in this video. Most executive coaching engagements run for 3 to 6 months. Occasionally they run longer, but that's pretty typical, and I would say the average is 6 months. That's a long time to be working with someone. How do you close out that 6-month engagement and leave a lasting impression on your client that ends the relationship elegantly, professionally, in an inspiring way that makes you and the client both feel good about this relationship coming to a close? First thing, radio ahead to your client that the close is coming. The reality is your client is probably not tracking when you started your engagement and when it's supposed to end, even though you were pretty clear about it in the beginning. Just as it's our responsibility as coaches to manage the time and focus of an individual coaching session, it's our responsibility to manage the time and focus of the engagement. This is an interesting thing about coaching in that oftentimes what we do in a session is similar to what we do in the engagement. So keep track of where you are. Don't lose sight of when the end is coming. Let your client know 2 to 3 weeks in advance that your engagement is about to wrap up. This gives them time to start to process and prepare for the ending of what's been hopefully a very successful and inspiring relationship. They're naturally going to ask, how will we end? A few things that I like to include in the ending are, 1, a recap of the progress that we've made throughout the engagement. That's obvious. 2, probably schedule a final check-in with the sponsor, if it's a sponsored engagement, of course. This is probably built into the flow of the engagement at the beginning, so it shouldn't be a surprise that you'll be having a final check-in with a sponsor. And again, it's your responsibility to let your client know so that gets scheduled without protracting the end of the engagement. Imagine if you wait till the last minute and then the sponsor's on vacation. Now we're into the next month. The next thing to keep in mind is that you'll want to give your client some encouragement to maintain the learning and growth that has steadily been managed throughout the engagement, right? We don't want that to come to a screeching halt. We want our client to continue the great progress that they've made, either to strengthen progress towards the objectives of the coaching engagement, in that there may be some additional things that they can do to continue to grow in that area, or what will they do to build on the success of the engagement? What else will they add on as things go forward? The last thing that I like to do is consider some sort of parting gift. Chances are you've been paid well for this coaching engagement and have a little discretionary income, right? How about considering giving your client a gift to mark the end of the relationship? What I've done in the past is I've given clients books or assessments. Interesting. You might wonder, well, why would you give a client an assessment at the end of the engagement? Well, the reason is because it encourages additional learning, growth, and insights. It's just up to them to do something with the new insights that they gain through this gift of an assessment. I recall giving one of my clients a 6 types of working genius assessment as a gift. It's my least expensive assessment, but it's no less helpful than any other assessment. And it's one that clients don't often choose at the outset of the engagement. I offer a variety of different assessments, and it's not one that's often picked for a variety of reasons. I'm not downplaying the value of the assessment in any way. I strongly believe in it. But for whatever reason, clients tend to pick other assessments that I offer at the beginning of the engagement. So that leaves this one as something that I can give at the end. If they chose that one at the beginning, then I'll give something else that they didn't pick. Just because they didn't pick it doesn't mean that it couldn't be a good assessment for them to gain additional insight and chart a new path for learning and growth. So consider that. But you might also go with the book. I've given clients various books to end the engagement. One that comes to mind is A Whole New Mind by Dan Pink. It's a wonderful book about creativity and how to stoke your creativity and come up with some great new ideas. Well, isn't that what coaching is all about? So it seems a fitting book to give to someone as an engagement comes to a close. What you might do is receive the book yourself, write a little note on the inside of the book, then ship the book directly to your client. Of course, that takes a little extra effort. You could also just ship the gift directly to your client with a note enclosed, since it's being shipped as a gift. With Amazon, you can even have the book put into a little gift bag, so it may feel a little more special when your client receives it. Now, there are many other ideas that you can come up with for gifts that you can give to your client, but this may be a nice way to end the relationship on a high note. When you actually get to the final session, there's going to be a little bit of emotion. And that's not just on your client's part. You're going to feel some emotion too. So be prepared for that and really bring your coaching presence there and just appreciate your client and the time that you've spent together and acknowledge all the effort that they've put in over these past several months and encourage that further growth. And of course, let them know that you're always available for a return engagement if that's the case. Because sometimes your client will actually say, I wonder if we can continue. And this is another reason why you give them some advance notice, because if it's a sponsored engagement, they generally need to receive approval to continue the engagement. And by giving them, I would say, a good 3 weeks notice, that's generally enough time for the powers that be to approve the extension of the engagement. So then it doesn't have to be an ending. It's actually the beginning of the next cycle, which is great news for both sides generally to be able to work together again. And this does happen. So don't discount the possibility. Another possibility is a reduced level of cadence. Some clients will say, could we just meet once a month or maybe move to a biweekly cadence? I mean, are there some possibilities there? So keep that in mind as well, that you may actually reduce the frequency of meetings and yet maintain a continuity with this client. So again, at that final session, be prepared for that. Be prepared to appreciate your client and generally put the first half as the look back at the engagement and what they've accomplished. And then the second half talking about how to sustain the progress they've made and what might be their new learning and growth goals. And I find that that's a good balance of the final session's time. I hope this video has proved helpful to you to consider how to close an engagement in a really good fashion. I've found that this process works really well for me. If you have your own ideas, please place them in the comments. I'd love to hear them and maybe incorporate them into my process as well. And I know other coaches will be reading to see if you have your own ideas. Now, if you'd like to go deeper with me and learn so much more about how to be a successful executive and leadership coach, consider joining the Center for Executive Coaching and enrolling in one of our various programs. We have different programs to suit different budgets and pace of learning, and also learning styles. You may want to learn in person, you may want to learn online, you may want to learn in a modular format over time. Whatever it is, we have a program that's probably going to be just right for you. Visit the website, explore our programs, and let me know if you'd like to talk at michael@BAECexecutivecoach.com. I lead distance learning programs, mentor coaching, and our in-person seminar a few times a year. You can also visit my blog site, BAECexecutivecoachtraining.com, to gain additional resources that can support you in your coaching journey. And there's also a calendar link where you can schedule time with me to talk about enrolling in the Center for Executive Coaching and working together. Thank you very much.